concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thanks again. And today's inspirational message will be given by Mia McNeil. Mia, the stage is yours.
Thank you, President Ray. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to do the inspirational message. This is a lot of pressure, but I did find something that was particularly good today that I wanted to share. I happened to be reading it earlier this week, and I said, oh my goodness, this would be perfect. So if you will indulge me for a second, this is from one of my favorite authors, John C. Maxwell, and it's from his book called Success 101. And he talks about how failure can lead to success. He says, mistakes are not permanent markers. I love the perspective of Senator Sam Ervin Jr. when he remarked, defeat may serve as well as victory to shake the soul and let the glory out. That's the way we need to look at failure. When you make mistakes, don't let them get you down, and don't let yourself think of them as a stigma. Make each failure a step to success. Even what appears to be a huge failure doesn't need to keep you from achieving. Take a look at the story of Sergio Zeman. He was the mastermind behind New Coke, something that the marketing consultant, Robert McMath, sees as one of the greatest product failures of all time. Zeman, who successfully introduced Diet Coke, believed that Coca-Cola needed to act boldly to reverse its 20-year market decline against its rival Pepsi. His solution was to stop offering the drink that had been popular for nearly 100 years, change the formula, and offer it as New Coke. The move was an abysmal failure that lasted 79 days and cost the company about $100 million. People hated New Coke, and it cost Zeman to leave the company. But Zeman's problems with New Coke didn't keep him down. In fact, he doesn't even see them as a failure. Years later, when asked if it was a mistake, Zeman answers, no, categorically. A failure? No. A blunder, a misstep, a bust? Another word between bust and something else, he replies. Now, if you say to me the strategy that you guys embarked on didn't work, I'll say, yeah, absolutely, it didn't work. But the totality of the action ended up being positive. Ultimately, the return of Coca-Cola Classic made the company stronger. Zeman's assessment was confirmed by Roberto Goizueta, the late chairman and chief executive of the Coca-Cola Company. He hired Zeman back at Coca-Cola in 1993. Judge the results, said Goizueta. We get paid to produce results. We don't get paid to be right. How can you help yourself learn a new definition of failure and develop a different perspective concerning failure and success? By making mistakes. Chuck Braun of the Idea Connection Systems encourages trainees to think differently through the use of a mistake quota. He gives each student a quota of 30 mistakes to make for each training session. And if a student uses up all 30, he or she receives another 30. As a result, the students relax, think of mistakes in a whole new light, and begin learning. As you approach your next big project or assignment, give yourself a reasonable mistake quotient. How many mistakes should you expect to achieve? 20, 50, 90? Give yourself a quota and try to hit it before bringing the task to completion. Remember, mistakes don't define failure. They are merely the price of achievement on the journey toward success. And that is your inspirational message today.
Well, thank you very much. That was awesome. Wow, I'm looking for my next mistake now. Thank you. Appreciate it. Are there any updates on the health and safety of Rotarians?
Yes, President Ray, this
Yes.
is Lynn Harand.
Hi, Lynn.
I am sorry to report that Gary Harand's son passed away yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Oh my God, no.
Yep.
So sorry, Lynn.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
It's horrible.
wow.
Oh, Lynn, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
thank you.
Is there anything the family needs or?
Or
Not at this moment. There's just have them in your thoughts and prayers.
Oh, Lynn, please pass he was one of my students. Please
I
pass
know.
my condolences to all of them. I've always
Yeah.
felt so close to them.
Yeah, he was a very outstanding young,
my-
wonderful young man. Yeah,
What was his name?
Joshua. And the tough part is he has a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh, my.
Oh,
I
no.
mean, everything's tough about it, but very, very accomplished and wonderful young man.
Yes, always was one of the best.
Yep.
Was he in Montana? Do I remember
Tucson.
that?
Tucson,
sorry?
Arizona.
Okay.
Tucson, Arizona. Yeah.
Just
I'm sorry that, man. Thank you.
another word on Reverend Reg Kennedy, and both I and Reverend Reg have been staying in touch with his wife, and he's out of the hospital. He's in a recovery facility with rehabilitation, and I talked to his wife. Excuse me, maybe I should go to the hospital. He actually had a great day yesterday. So she was so proud. She called me and told me how much he felt improved. So keep him in your prayers too.
We certainly will. I'm glad he's making progress. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, next.
Ray, I just asked in our group if anybody has heard from or talked to Libby Maynard by any chance.
I haven't heard a word. No, that's a good one to update. Absolutely. Okay, we'll try to get some news. Are there guests to be welcomed today?
I have a guest, Ray. Can you hear me there, Ray?
Yes, yes.
My wife Jenny's on here somewhere.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking for her. I saw her name on there a minute ago, and she texted me and said, "I'm on." I don't
I'm
see
here,
her.
everyone. I'm having issues with my
Oh.
camera, but I am here.
Oh, well, welcome, Jenny. I'm glad you could join us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Are there any other announcements? Okay. Next slide, please. It's time for Judge Duncan Beagle to introduce today's gifted speaker, Sheriff Chris Swanson. Judge Beagle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Genesee County Sheriff Chris Swanson. As many of you know, he served for many years as the undersheriff to Sheriff Robert Pickell, and then when Sheriff Pickell retired in December of 19, Chris was appointed. He was then elected to a 4-year term in November of last year, 2020. Chris is a third-generation law enforcement official. He has his master's and bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan, married with 2 sons. Some of you may recall, before people got to know Chris within the last year, that he spoke at our Rotary Club about a year ago. And I got comments about his enthusiasm and so forth. Many of you will remember certainly the killing of George Floyd almost a year ago on May 25th. And there were protests in the country, several parts of urban communities. Stores were looted and businesses were damaged. And then on a Sunday, May 30th, people gathered together. There was going to be some demonstrating. And the Flint area, through the leadership of Sheriff Swanson, received some actual positive news when the sheriff laid down his helmet and baton and told the protesters he wanted to join them and make the event a parade to celebrate their cause. He has gone on and he founded the Genesee Human Oppression Strike Team in 2018, commonly referred to as GHOST, which is a specialized unit of officers from the Office of the Genesee County Sheriff who combat crimes of human trafficking and drug offenses throughout Southeast Michigan. He's going to talk to us today, perhaps on more than one issue, but primarily on the program that he announced in September of 2020, the Ignite program, which is a new educational program which the sheriff hopes will end generational incarceration. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you one of the most enthusiastic, passionate, and innovative public officials I've had the pleasure of working with. Let's have a nice welcome for our Genesee County Sheriff, Chris Swanson. Chris, you're on board.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you so much. And looking at that list of influencers here, it's just another opportunity to hear what's going on, but all of us share in the progress. So I'm just going to hit on some highlights, and I appreciate the kind words. We do have a lot going on in Genesee County and in the Flint area at the Sheriff's Office, and mark my words, the world is watching. I say that because it's not just protests or what Ghost is doing, but I'm going to share with you some of those things. But before I do, the judge asked me to kind of highlight some COVID response. I know we have Commissioner Clemens on here, who's part of the task force, and certainly Dr. Bobby, who's been at so many different vaccination sites. But we in Genesee County formed that task force the first week of January, and the mission was to create a logistic, efficient operation for people to get their vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And I'm happy to say that we vaccinated as a collective group well over 200,000 vaccines from all those different sites. We now have sites that are starting to close out, and now people are going to have those fixed sites at the health departments. So we've certainly moved the needle where the demand and the supply have now flipped. So people still have an opportunity to get their vaccines. We see the numbers in Genesee County coming down. We attribute that to a lot of things, but I just want to say anybody who I missed that was part of that process, well done, well played, and the people heard, and they're very grateful. So that's that COVID update. Inside the jail, we've got a great operation. I love jail. I love being a sheriff's officer. I love being the sheriff. I love serving people. As the judge mentioned, last year was a big year. Some say it was a horrible year. It was the best year of my life. It's the best year to be a police officer. It's the best year to serve people. It's the best year to be an elected official. I believe that to my heart because I operate best in chaos. And last year was all that. I understand that, you know, when things happen, and last we spoke, there was so much that was yet to be rolled out. But that moment that the judge talked about was a big moment for the entire world. On May 30th, when that moment happened, within 24 hours, it reached 3.2 billion people in 24 hours. And since then, we have continued to roll out what was promised that day on Miller Road on a lamp post, and that was to protect, serve, and unify. When that moment happened and things started rolling, you know, words whisper, but actions scream. And the righteous anger that filled that parking lot over not only George Floyd, but all the relations that have gone on between black and white and police and the community, those were big deals. And the judge mentioned, you know, third generation. My dad was in the Detroit Police Department during the '67 riots. And then my grandfather was in the 1945 race riots in Detroit as a DPD officer. So my question is, on that day, enough is enough. What do we need to do? And I made a promise and a commitment that I'm going to use whatever circle of influence I have been given to bring a message of hope and unification to people that don't look like each other, live like each other, worship like each other. And that's what the message was, is we don't have to agree on everything, but we can, for the good of others, work together to unify and bring hope. Because what I found as the letters and the messages started coming in from all over the world, people that didn't even speak English, there was a common bond, and that is people wanted hope for tomorrow. They wanted people to feel as though others have dignity and human rights and the American values. I mean, these are common themes that we all on this call want to give. I mean, you're a service organization. And how do you do that? Well, you have to give goodwill to others. Well, how do you do that? You can't just talk about it. You can't just have meetings about it. You got to go out there and do it. And so the action behind what has led to where I'm at right now. Part of that was Ignite. And, I heard the sad announcement of a young death and a teacher that stood up and said, I remember him as a student. Well, I can tell you that some of the bigger influences of my life were my teachers. Mrs. Olivet, second grade, Reed Elementary in Goodrich. Avon Burns, Mott Community College. Dr. Suzanne Seelig, U of M. These are people that spoke into my life through education that turned my whole life around. I was not a good high school student. I didn't want to go to college, but I decided to go to Mott College, get a 2-year, and then transfer to U of M, get a 4-year. And Dr. Ellis Perlman convinced me to go get a master's degree. I've been on faculty since 1997. And during my master's thesis in 98, I answered the question, what really does reduce crime and make communities safe? And after a year and a half, my thesis conclusion was education. When people have value and they feel like they can provide, when they feel like they have some type of worth, purpose, they perform different. And I started the sheriff's office when I was 18 years old, 2 years Marine Division, full-time at 20. And so I have been raised in jail. I've been raised in a very violent community. I've been raised in a traumatic environment. I've been a medic since I was 20, a police officer since I was 21. And I see the same things happen over and over again. And the judge mentioned that it's called generational incarceration. Grandfathers, fathers and sons, grandmothers, daughters, sons, and same thing. And there's a culture that people, that's what they think their lot in life is, well, this is what happened to my family. This is what I'm going to do. There's a better way. And so I was on a treadmill back in 2019 and it just popped in my head. The spirit said, why don't you turn that whole place into an educational facility? And I thought, that's exactly what we're going to do. So we moved from incarceration to education. Obviously, we're still a Genesee County jail. The judge mentioned about how backed up we are. We've got no trials that has happened. We've got the most violent population in the entire Genesee County Sheriff's Office history in the jail because of COVID. We've got life offenders and capital crimes, and we've got all that there. But I do know this, while they're there, we can do something positive. Where they go from there, I don't care. I'm not interested in making better inmates. I'm interested in making better people. And so I started the process of changing the culture. And I know some people call it a program, but it's actually a culture because I don't want to go. There's sometimes programs are seen as there's an end date. There's no end date to this. Swanson is not going to quit. And I'm not going to stop at Genesee County. I'm going to make this the standard in incarceration across the country because I know it works. It worked for me. When someone poured into my life and I decided to get an education, it changed everything. And so we launched it on September 8th, 2020. I launched it before it was even built. It's like kind of opening up, an advertisement for a 72-story oceanfront skyliner. And we haven't even dug the foundation yet, but I knew we had to put a mark in the sand. And so on that day, Coach Harbaugh from the Wolverines was there. Michigan Supreme Court Chief Justice Bridget McCormick was there. Lisa Hagel from the GISD. Other social activists were there. And we put it out there. And we said, this is the day that we start school. And it happened to be the same day that the whole county started school. Well, we partnered with Mount Morris Consolidated Schools because we had been with them for years as our GED distribution outlet. But Ignite is more than just GED. I wanted diplomas. I wanted college credits. I wanted trade schools. I want people to come into jail with nothing and leave with an HVAC certification. I wanted people to come in thinking they had no hope and leave with an 8-week culinary certificate to go anywhere in the country. I wanted to have every opportunity for people to come into jail that have a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year, it doesn't matter how many college years they have, that they could take history of American literature. They can take science. They can take computer programming. They can take finance and literacy classes. And so that's what happened. And Mount Morris started an assessment. We started the entire jail. We found out where they were in their math, where they were in read comprehension. And I'm telling you, what we found when we started that assessment is the average math grade in the Genesee County Jail was 5th grade. The average reading comprehension was 6.5 grades. You can't function in life with a 5th grade math level, and you can't function in life successfully with a reading comprehension level of 6th grade. And on top of that, half our population couldn't even read. So we just went on a full court press rollout. And within 6 weeks, we did a update, and our math went up a whole grade. Our reading went up a grade and a half. And that was just last year. Let me tell you what's happened since December 23rd. December 23rd, we had our first graduate. Leon Mize graduated after an 8 weeks in her culinary program at the Genesee County Jail Kitchen. That program is a federal culinary safety program, almost like a sous chef kind of program. And they take that certification test, and he scored in the high 90s. He had 21 months in lockup. He'd already served 15 years in other facilities. 21 months, came in with nothing and left. We had a graduation ceremony, and it was so cool because Gary West and Stephanie Howard from G-Card, they offered Leon a full-time job. So he left the jail, worked full-time. He's still there now. Leon is one of 18 people, 18 inmates that have left the Genesee County Jail since December 23rd and are now still in full-time employment. We've got over 40,000 contact hours that have been given to the inmates in the Genesee County Jail. We go 2 hours a day, 5 days a week to school. We have Chromebooks is our rollout, and they have a portal in there that opens them up to 250 online classes. The United Auto Workers bought a $5,500 virtual reality station on the 3rd floor, and now people can go there and they can learn how to build a door frame, lay wire, they can weld, they can learn how to plumb, they can change the drains in the sink, all virtual. And while they're doing that, 10 students are watching it and the instructor is teaching them. We call that career awareness. It's not going to get them a plumber's certificate. They're not in there as an apprentice, but what it does is it conjures up and it ignites the desire to want and more. And so we've seen this, and other people have seen it. And so have the Detroit Red Wings. In fact, last week I picked up a check from the Joey Kosher Foundation, who represents the Detroit Red Wings alumni, and they bought 2 more stations that are going in the 4th and 5th floor. They wrote a check for $12 grand. So now we have a VR station on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor. It's been picked up by the nation. The National Sheriff's Association has endorsed it. They represent 3,084 sheriffs in the entire United States. It's backed by the Michigan Sheriff's Association that represents 83 sheriffs. It's been highlighted and submitted by Congressman Kildee as their #1 earmark for funding. Because mind you, we started it in last year and I haven't had any funding. This is all above and beyond. And Commissioner Clemens is all too aware of what I need when it comes to funding for things, but I have not asked for a single dime to fund Ignite. This is above and beyond. We have partnered with our vendors, Airmark, GTL. So when an inmate is in school and they do a successful day, at the end of the day, they are rewarded because that's how a meritocracy works. That's how life works. And that reward is a tablet. The tablets are supplied by GTL, our communications vendor. And on those tablets, they can stream movies, games, and music that they pay for. And that generates the revenue to pay for whatever we need in Ignite and supply revenue for the county. We have scaled this out that now Ingham County has rolled out an Ignite program. I meet with Jackson County Sheriff Schutte next week who wants to do Ignite. We have been featured in the USA Today 2 weeks ago. The USA Today, I've done well over 150 interviews around the world. And one of the most difficult interviews I've done was USA Today. It lasted days, multiple interviews. I have a great respect for their vetting process, but what they put out was incredible. They highlighted the Ignite program. They saw and they did their own research, and post-high school education, any post-high school education has a 43% reduction rate of inmates coming back to incarceration. 43%. So when the state of Michigan has a $2.2 billion budget for the Michigan Department of Corrections, $2.2 billion, not the jails, the prisons. Imagine if we were to, in a couple of years, reduce that by 43%, because the stats show it. We have inmates now. If you walked into the jail amidst all that we have going on, from two hours a day, you would hear inmates clicking on their keyboards. You have white inmates helping black inmates helping white inmates. Stone cold people that have a hardened heart are now seeing that there's hope, and they're helping people they would never have crossed that. You know, I found that when you want to really reach out to people, you've got to come across your convenience, and you've got to go into someone else's world and give them a helping hand. And we see that in the jail. Our violence and our numbers and assaults on deputies and assaults on inmates have plummeted because of this. And thank God that we have Ignite. And I say that not to be disrespectful, but thank God we have Ignite, because in light of our court that has not been able to process the inmates through, and we have inmates that have been to the jail 1.5 to 5 years, almost 100 of them, if they didn't have something to do, that violence would have a complete reciprocal effect. It was perfect timing. The inmates have a luster in their life that I have never seen in my entire year. Anybody we bring in people from out. Miss Perry from the Flint Board of Education came in a couple weeks ago, blew her mind. I'm going to tell you, if anybody listening right now would like to see it firsthand, this is your county jail. I just get to take care of it. I would love for you to see it. I'd love for you to go there. We've got peers that are going in and mentoring inmates that are going to beyond education from the GED and diploma, and they're helping them learn how to speak Spanish and how to navigate. There's Chromebooks and Odyssey-ware. It's unbelievable. So I say all that to say, the Ignite program is something beyond my expectations. I knew it changed my life, and I knew it had the ability to change others. And I'm convinced that it will be a national standard shortly, certainly because it can be incentivized, it makes sense, and it's a human right to have the ability that others have. And that's Ignite. Judge, back to you.
I think we've got some time for questions, and I don't know whether anyone has any of Chris. If you do, go ahead.
Joe, you're muted. Joel, you're muted.
Okay,
there you go.
I've got a question, Sheriff. Good presentation as always energetic. The Genesee Health System just approved a new millage in this a couple of days ago. I thought one of the things they were saying is that they were going to help police officers, and I didn't know whether it included sheriff's deputies, to help with mental health, because that's a big issue when it comes to crime. And are you guys going to be helped by that? And what do you think about, or what are you doing regarding inmates and the people that are arrested who have mental health issues? How are you handling that?
All right. Well, there's two questions there, Joel. Thanks for asking. Number one, we actually have a deputy embedded with community mental health, Dan Russell. So we, and I sit with him on the Voices for Children board. So I don't think that even they know the full rollout of what everything is going to be now that the millage has passed. So I don't know the answer to that. I do know there's a law enforcement focus on that. There's 3 pillars that address that. I know we're going to work hand in hand in building out a resource for inmates to have mental health treatment. Just for the record, 9 out of 10 inmates in the jail are addicted or co-addicted, and 5 to 6 out of 10 are under some type of mental health medication. So it is a real issue, and that's just in the jail. In and around our community, there's people that are struggling with mental health issues or are in good, solid treatment, which needs to happen. To your second point, that is a law enforcement must do across the country. You saw in the Nashville shooting where the officer was ambushed and shot. The family came right out and said, "We are so sorry. Our son has lost his life." And to the officer, our heart goes out to you. Our son has suffered with mental health issues, and please just give our family the, I mean, I feel terrible for this family because when they're not in their right mind, they do things they wouldn't normally do. So it's a real issue. So mental health in the jail, we have a medical screening that happens within 48 hours of anybody coming to jail. We have a full physician, a psychiatrist, and social worker that are on staff full-time at the Genesee County Jail. Our deputies have been trained in mental health awareness and treatment. We have a special floor that deals with suicidal inmates and inmates that are highly medicated. We've got inmates that are extremely violent. One in particular, he's in his late 20s. He's about 6'5", 290, and he has the mental capacity of a 5th grader because of fetal alcohol syndrome. And that's a very dangerous inmate. So there's a lot of moving parts to treat the mental health and also the officers. I mean, we have just contracted and through the county board's approval with a psychologist that will go and perform more than we have already fit for duty tests, and new hires that come in, sending them to a psychological test. But we have people that have been on for 10, 15 years that have seen so much tragedy that we've never been able to say, "Hey, why don't you just go talk to somebody?" Because it works both ways. So it's a high focus. It's my focus. I think everybody here needs to realize, and I know this group can be sensitive to it. Mental health can be a stigma, but it shouldn't, because if I'm physically not healthy, I go get help for my physical health. If my head's not feeling well, I can go get help for my mental health. It shouldn't be a stigma. People can be treated and have a bountiful life, and that's what we need to continue to focus on.
Great. More questions?
I have one. Sheriff Swanson, I saw that you are doing a community impact day at the end of the month. How would someone participate in that, or do you need volunteers?
Yes, thanks, Mia. And by the way, great inspirational message. I love it. May 30th is the year anniversary, and it falls on Sunday of Memorial Day this year. So we're not going to let the opportunity pass without giving back to Genesee County. So I've worked with a lot of my friends around the country, and we have a whole group coming in, and it's the May 30th Walk With Us Day of Service. So we're going to meet at the Genesee County Jail from noon to 2. Tender Bones food truck's going to be there. Nick from Capitol is going to be cooking some kogels. We're going to have a reception area there. We have inflatables, music going, and that's where people and their teams get assigned to a number of projects. So we've already taken in over 25 submissions of community projects, from cleaning up 23 and Hill Road to the Foss Avenue Block group, to Clow Amphitheater, to the Atlas Cemetery. We're just going to go deploy from 2 to 6 in 8 teams around the county to go do service projects. Because when you give back to people, who knows that better than Rotarians, then there's a sense of selfless love that's shown. So for people that want to volunteer and get their hands dirty, you can show up from noon to 2. You can call the Genesee County Sheriff's Office, 257-3407, 257-3407. You can get with your Rotary Club and say, hey, we have this many people from the Rotary that's going to be there. And then I can just sign you up as a group. We just got a big group coming from AFSCME last week. We've got our own police union that's going to take up the 5601 North Saginaw building and just make that look amazing. But the other thing you could do is also submit projects that you think need to be addressed. So if there's a leadership role that somebody could take to the Rotary, I would ask that you maybe be the point person to gather that information and bring it to me, and we'll get you signed up. But I really, really, really want the entire county to be a part of it one way. I think we're going to have a mad success. I can promise you this, you won't forget it when you show up. You'll know where it is, because I'm going to do it upright.
Sheriff, I have a quick question. What's being done for female prisoners?
So our female population today is about 85. And we have a female staff, obviously, that oversees them. And nothing against the fellas, but they are the most successful of the Ignite program. They've had the highest success when it comes to math and reading comprehension. They consume Ignite. I remember a story from 3 weeks ago. Congressman Keelty came in, and I took him into the female housing, and there was a female inmate there who was 35 years old. And the congressman came up and said, so what do you think of Ignite? She started getting teary-eyed, and she's like, I don't know if I can talk in public. And her mentors next to her, another inmate, said, go ahead and tell him. And she says, I came in here and I have 4th grade math level. And over the last 2 months, I raised it to 7th grade. She says, I'm in 7th grade math right now. So it's unbelievable. And, everybody there in jail, especially the female inmates, they're there for violent crimes, But while they're there, it goes back to, I'm more interested in changing their mindset. So the female inmates get the exact same treatment that everybody else has and the greatest opportunities. But they have also shown the greatest success of the Ignite program.
Fabulous.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, this is amazing, and I'm so happy inmates have access to this. What happens if they're working through a program and then they get released? What do they just have to start over on their own?
No, I love it. Great question. 5601 North Saginaw. So we have prepared when inmates start that when they release, they get untethered, they go on probation, they serve their time. What do they do? Well, 2 weeks ago, you can Google it. The grand opening of 5601 North Saginaw. We have an Ignite aftercare wraparound service, and that is being built out so they can continue their education. We also connect with them. We don't boot them out the front door. If they were in the middle of their GED diploma, we get them to their next class at the Mount Moore School District. We've had inmates release and go direct to their appointment from the county jail. So that's a great point. You don't want to start something and then have no aftercare. So we do that. And Christina, I'm telling you, that is the key. We have our skilled trades there. We got barber school that's there. People can get their cosmetology degree. It's crazy. So yes, that's what we do to make sure that they just don't end if they are removed from jail and they're in the middle of their program.
Great, thanks.
Fantastic. Any other
Are you
questions?
coordinating with other programs around the county? Like I know that Catholic Charities has a program, and then I don't know what the program is up at St. Luke's. Tom Goyette, remember, started the one for the men there. Do you coordinate any of your efforts with any of these other groups and these other efforts?
Right. And we have a partnership with a whole nother talk called the Community Care Task Force. And all those that you mentioned, we have great relationships with. Plus, I do so much in the community. So I do a lot with Catholic Charities and the other groups. What we're doing in the county jail, and I keep saying it because I want the branding to be, it's a culture change. And so there's not one program that's going to be the sole answer to our culture, but we use all of them. We call them ornaments on the tree. So before they're released, if we feel that Catholic Charities is the best option, then we connect them before they even leave. If Life Challenge is the best option, we connect them. If Odyssey House, if whatever those programs are, because we're a huge social hub at the sheriff's office and we have all those services, long answer to short question, yes, they're given the opportunity and plugged into them. Now it's theirs to follow up, but we give them the greatest opportunity to succeed. The one thing I do say is for those that actually got employed, we follow up with those inmates way after. We still do site checks and they're not even in our custody. Our deputies do that. So yes, we work with all those programs, but not all of them fit for every one person.
Excellent. More questions? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just
Wow.
say that I'm really excited to hear the changes that you've brought, that this seems like a really, really important opportunity for folks to help set them on a better path. So kudos.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned. This is going to be a fun ride.
Fantastic. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
All right, Chris. George, can I get the next screen?
Thank you and good luck.
Sheriff Swanson, I want to thank you for a tremendous presentation, both informative, both educational, and third, energetic, as usual for you. I want you to know that Flint Rotary appreciates you, and in appreciation for the time that you spent putting this program together for us, we are going to donate on your behalf to Rotary International Foundation for the eradication of polio. And thank you again. I want to thank our members for their service today. Judge Beagle for introducing our speaker, Rotarian Mia McNeil for her very inspirational message, and today's note taker, Rotarian Brian Sanderson. Flint Rotary thanks each and every one of you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our program as much as we enjoy welcoming you. Our program next Friday will feature Joe Serra, Chief Operating Officer of Serra Automotive. Bring a guest and have your questions ready. Stay safe, keep warm, and look to open opportunities in order to provide service above self. And listen carefully for the closing bell to stipulate that we are adjourned. Dawn. It worked the first time.
That was close.
Well, we're adjourned anyway.
Thanks, President Ray.
All right. Great.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Thanks.
too.
Hopefully the
Bye-bye.
song keeps shining.
Bye.
All right. Well, George, you got it halfway there.
I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
A great program. Boy, that Chris is.
Yeah.
He's enthusiastic, isn't he?
Yeah,
Yes,
sure
he
is.
Wow.
Fantastic, and it just, brings another good side of Flint to a national level, to see that kind of representation and program.
I was in the jail a few weeks after that, and the number of camera crews that came in there from all over the country was just absolutely amazing. I mean, my gosh, and it was to report something positive.
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
that is awesome. I guess, it removes a lot of frustration for the inmates because they have to do something really wild and who knows what to be sentenced. And then without a program like this, when they finally get out, it's just a matter of time before they're right back in again. But God, this just looks like it just puts so much enthusiasm and realization that they have value. That is
Exactly. And I'll tell you, there's a large number of inmates that have been there well over a year. You don't even want to hear the numbers of people who have been there over 2 years. If you're in a correctional facility, at least you can go outside. Those people, most of them have never been outside since the day they walked in there. Well, I tell you. So good programming.
Yes.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Let's keep the sun shining.
All right.